Hello and welcome to Alive and Composing with today's guest, Guy Barash. Would you please state your name properly for the record?
My name is Guy Barash.
What does Barash mean? That's a cool name.
It's a name in Hebrew. It's actually initials for Ben Rabbi Shimon, which is the son of Rabbi Simon. Not that I come from a religious family at all.
That's cool. So it's like an acronym or something? Or?
Yeah, it's sort of an acronym. It is an acronym.
Sweet. Everyone who listens and watches this show needs to know from composers what kind of pets they have and if they have creative names for them. Do you have a lifestyle that allows you to have a pet?
I have a pet. I have a dog called Ernest. He's a bulldog.
Ernest the bulldog. That's curious. After any particular Ernest we know?
Ernest Hemingway.
The bulldog. Okay. And is that because you're a fan of his writing? You like Old Dogs in the Sea? Or,
yeah.
Or he likes to play with cigars?
Well, I did read many of his books as a younger child. But yeah, I just thought it's also a cool name for a bulldog.
Absolutely. There'll be many more of them after watching this, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Words, books, text, that's what I think of when I listen to your music. Is that a fair accusation?
Indeed. Actually, text in different shapes and forms is probably my biggest inspiration. I think my aesthetic corresponds with many other disciplines other than music, like film and visual arts, but text is probably the biggest thing.
And did you ever consider being a text writer?
I mean, I did write some articles, no, though.
Okay, and you were born in what kind of circumstance, in what kind of country?
I was born in Israel.
Yeah.
Circumstances. Well, Israel is a convoluted place.
I bet. What's your first sound memory?
Ooh. That's a difficult one.
It could be this morning if that's too hard, but you don't need to go back to the womb.
No, I won't.
or is there a particular kind of, is there a memory where you are aware of the environment for the first time? Either it could be like intentional music, or it could be, I don't know, the Bedouin camel bells, or some cool story. Something that may have made its way into your music without realizing it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the first sound memory, but it definitely made an impression. My father used to work in a textile factory, and I remember visiting one day, and the sound of machines really overwhelmed me. I immediately started crying. I wanted to leave. It was a lot, too much, maybe.
I bet. Do you think, I find your music very intense too. Do you think that's something that runs in the family? In terms of like visceral, very foreground?
Well, my parents played an instrument. My grandmother played piano. There is musical background.
Right.
None of them pursued it as a profession, though.
Did you consider doing anything else other than music?
Not really.
We hope you don't. Okay, so then you came to the States. Why?
I came here to do my master's, continue my school. I came to NYU, studied with Joan LaBarbera, among other good teachers.
And why did you pick her in particular?
I work a lot with text and voice, and it just made a lot of sense.
You're right, it's a great opportunity. Do you ever work with Mort as well?
Yes, I actually took a composition seminar with Morten Subotnik, which was also very inspiring.
Okay, so now you are working in the vibrant city of New York, and do you have a day job as well?
I do have a day job. I work for a music publisher.
Does that give you a perspective on the music industry, the business, and how things run, or get you to meet people that you wouldn't otherwise meet?
I learned a lot about this industry from my job, yes.
Me too. Okay, fact about water. Tell me a fact about water.
It's fluid.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. And yeah.
Oh, you have an album that we'll get to in more detail a little bit later, but why did you come across that title in particular?
Well, the title is actually, it's a title of a chapter from Nick Flynn's second memoir, The Ticking is the Bomb. It's a very personal text, but like many of his writings, it touches upon the Buddhist cycle of birth, life, and death, samsara. But I should probably rewind a little bit because it doesn't make a lot of sense right now. Like I said, text is my biggest inspiration, and when I arrived in New York, shortly after, I started looking for poetry by local writers, and came across one of his writings, one of his poems, Imagination, and set it to music, soprano and percussion. After I did this, I reached out to him, told him that I wrote a piece based on his text, and asked if he would like to collaborate on a larger scale. And we met one evening, and we had a very good conversation in which we came up with the idea for Produce. This was our first project together. Produce is a secular political oratorio that in this piece there are two sections made their way as a standalone pieces into the album: 7 Testimonies and the Produce monologue. I'm a very political person, and in his book, The Ticking is the Bomb, and another book of poems, The Captain Asks for a Show of Hands, that he wrote at the time, they both tell the story of America after 9/11, which is a story of fear, a story of scare, terror, torture, and these ideas immediately triggered something in me, and I decided to write this piece. 7 Testimonies, the poem, as Nick says, is a redacted version of 7 testimonies by 7 Abu Ghraib detainees, and the instrumentation is rock band, 5-piece rock band, singer, guitar, bass, keyboard, drums, and electronics. The electronic part is a field recording of the actual testimonies that is manipulated in real time by the playing of the live musicians. Produce is an electroacoustic piece. Proteus in Greek mythology is a sea god that can foretell the future, but he will change his shape to avoid having to. He will answer only to someone who is able of capturing him. These 2 pieces made their way as standalone pieces into the album.
Is there a visual element that we're not getting, or are these like concept pieces? We're just getting is all the complexity in the manipulation of the sounds and the text?
Well, visual element. The visual element. Well, there are a few visual elements. One of them is that the piece was alongside the piece there were projections by Jared Handelsman, video projections. So this is one visual element. I don't like to make things too specific or too clear, so I think it's best to leave it to the listeners.
The album opens with a kind of amazing string quartet, which it struck me when I first heard it as like new complexity but with rhythm. It was like a rock intensity almost, but constantly shifting and complex textures as well. Do you consider that it comes from any particular background like that, or is that include some of your political anger, or what went into that piece?
Not necessarily, not anger, but it is definitely connected to our hyperactive society, and living in within this society. In this piece, I explore musical phenomena like simultaneity and synchronicity within the context of microtonal environment, psychologically disorienting environment that is very similar to the world we live in.
And with your experience with electronic manipulation, would you say any of that fed into the writing for the acoustic instruments?
Definitely. Electronic writing or electronic composition deeply affected and inspired every other writing for acoustic instruments, and every sound that I write has roots in my experience with electronic music.
And do you favor a particular software or platform?
Max MSP.
Okay. The production of the text, a lot of it is intelligible, but it's still kind of creatively presented and contextualized. It's not an aria, it's not an oratorio for a single singer to deliver a recitative or anything in the normal kind of way, but I love the way that it's kind of manipulated and integrated into the instrumentation texture as well. Have you ever had Nick Flynn or any other poets worry about how far you've taken their own poetry?
Maybe they are, but they never said anything.
Good, yeah. That's the best kind of poet.
Yeah.
Shut up. And do you find it takes a certain kind of singer to approach such things, or is it a different kind of world you're asking them to participate in?
Well, I would hope it's not, but it is.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I think I write for more adventurous musicians.
And do you find that singers are as adventurous as some other kind of instrumentation?
I'm not sure I understand.
I guess in New York you've got all kinds of New York specialists, new music specialist singers. Predominantly the singers who are trained for opera or for lieder or for rock bands or something may be unfamiliar with the articulation of text and phonemes. Not everybody is Gemma Barbara.
No, not at all. Actually, I have some good experience with different singers. I'm now a fellow composer in the Composer in the Voice program at American Opera Projects, developing my new opera. And yeah, these are great singers that I'm sure not all of them has a lot of experience with this type of writing, but they were open. They were open to try it, to experiment with the material, and there are the ones that are more rock and roll attitude, that just do it and don't think twice, don't hesitate.
Mm-hmm. And what's the opera about? And is this your first one? How are you going to approach such a large thing?
It is my first one. It is about homelessness, also based on a text by Nick Flynn. It is called Alice Invents a Little Game and Alice Always Wins. Catchy name.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, it's going to take a while.
What other elements will be part of it apart from the text and your music?
We shall see. I mean, staging of some sort, I would hope.
Yeah, cast of thousands, ballet, and
I'm not sure about that, but
people coming down from clouds.
Yeah, probably. No.
Yeah. And facts about water. Tell us some more facts about water. Sometimes it's fluid. The programming for this album on Innova, it seems to flow nicely, but there's a lot of variety in it as well. Does it happen to be the pieces you had ready at the time, or was it conceived as an entire album?
No, it was conceived as an album. I mean, I had other pieces, but I saw it as a full, complete project that made sense as an album.
Well, we love listening to it, and we're listening to it right now in the background. And thank you very much for telling us about you and your work.
Thank you for having me.
Look at this field cosmos on what? Generate into 1,000 versions of yourself. You can't tell your stories fast enough. The answer is not one, but also not two.